My name is Rachel and I'll be your host today. This is an exceptional edition as we're in the historical and beautiful Town Hall of Leuven. We're in front of an audience of over 80 MBA students and a delegation from the Chamber of Commerce. Plus, as a premiere, we're also streaming live on Facebook. Very exciting stuff. We'll be taking questions at the end from our live audience, and for people following online, ask any questions in the chat during our talk and our team will pass them on at the end. My first guest speaker today is Jan De Spiegeleer, founder and CEO of RiskConcile and part-time professor at the KU Leuven. RiskConcile develops risk and regulatory technology for the financial sector, mainly the asset management industry. We're also joined by Jente Schoutens, serial innovator working at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology for Food, otherwise known as EIT Food. He's VP for Jong Voka Vlaams-Brabanti, and he founded a series of organizations and startups, including Leuven Value Network itself.
And Jente, can you tell us a bit about your journey through various startups and how it's led you to where you are today?
Sure. So it started all with building a community on RuneScape. And I'm wondering, there's a lot of Indian MBA students in the room. Who knows RuneScape? It's like a game. It's very popular in Europe. There's a Belgian saying, yeah, okay. It's an online game. And I started, the first entrepreneurial thing I did was to create a community on there. And it was really cool and it brought people together. And then that was the first taste of entrepreneurship. And I really liked it because what you dream, you can actually realize it. And then I thought, why don't I organize a party when I was about 15 years old? You know, like a club night in Leuven, let's see what happens. It was good, we made a profit and the party was nice. And then I started to entrepreneur more and more in events, organizing events every quarter, every month. It escalated fairly quickly. So I founded a non-profit, Night Factory, like we build your night. And then I continued doing that. But then I went to the UK for a master in Coventry University. And there I also founded an event agency, Raventree. You know, Coventry, Raventree, Rave. So that was another experience there. And then I went into the work life, you know, business. And my first job, and I'm still working there, was EIT Food. And EIT Food stands for the European Institute of Innovation and Technology for Food. And they organized networking events, bringing the food ecosystem of Europe together. And there I learned, you know, I organized parties when I was a kid and a teenager. Now I'm organizing these business events, but they're a little bit boring. What if you bring them together and start something like Leuven Value Network, where we do for youngsters a little bit more optimized, some nice drinks at the end, some music, but also networking and the power of innovation and entrepreneurship in one room. So that's how Leuven Value Network started. And that was the first big, you know, like entrepreneurial thing to launch. And now I can give you a teaser. I'm working on a tech startup, Collab. It's a meeting app. But I don't want to hijack the whole intro, so maybe later I'll talk about that. Yeah.
I'm curious then, Jente, along your way, is there any specific person that has inspired you in entrepreneurship? Have you had any mentors that have helped you along the way?
I'm going to give a very classical story. Elon Musk is like, he does so many things, PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, of course, and many more things. And I think it's very interesting how he can do it all at the same time. He manages to do it. Next to that, on a more personal level, my dad, who I know that Jan also knows a bit via the KU Leuven, has also this entrepreneurial spirit in him. And in fact, my grandpa, he was also a person who was very good in multitasking and taking initiative. And it's kind of my family and the people around me who inspired me to take the jump.
Yeah, nice. Jan, do you have people around you that also...
My math teacher.
Really?
So what we do in RiskConcile is mathematics.
Yeah.
And when you're 15, 14 years old, you get stuck into a certain thing. And I had a fantastic math teacher. So I fell in love with math. And right now I'm teaching math in university. RiskConcile is about math and Python. So this person has had such a huge influence of who I am and what I do.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Lovely. And I'm curious to both of you, what is it that you love about being an entrepreneur? What excites you about it?
You do whatever you want and think is right. And I think when I look at my whole career, so I'm now close to 60, I never worked as hard as right now, and I've never had as much fun as right now. Working with young people, I mean, I'm close to 60, RiskConcile average age is 25.
Right.
It really keeps me on my toes, keeps me on my edge, and it's a fantastic day. Every day, I love to come to the office. The vibe is fantastic, and it's a great place to work. Great team, I love it. Yeah.
Nice. And for you, Jente, anything different?
Yeah, I resonate with what Jan said. I think also the freedom, just dream it. You have an idea and you can actually make it happen. When you work in a company, you have to explain to your boss, maybe the boss likes it, maybe not. But when you're an entrepreneur, you just do it. You just make it happen. You dream it and then you put it in place. And I really like that freedom, yeah.
Okay, but it's not all rainbow and sunshine. No. What are the biggest challenges?
Oh, that's because you have so many dreams and so many ideas that you maybe overwork yourself. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think that if you're a student, the only way is up. You have an exam and it goes well, you have another exam. So you're building success after success. And if you run a business, you have good days and you have bad days.
Right.
So the thing is to have more good days than bad days. Mm-hmm. And when you have a good day, don't forget that tomorrow can be a bad day. So that I've learned by being a trader in a bank. So when you work in a bank and you're in a portfolio, you know that the difference between heaven and hell is a week. I've been to 1994, 98, 1995, 2001, 2012. So many things have happened in the industry, financial industry, that you know that you have bad days. And so that's the thing, for me, the biggest change. You come from school, all goes well.
Right.
And then in real life, you have setbacks and you have to cope with that.
Mm. Right. Mm. Okay. Focusing a little bit more on your separate businesses. So first, RiskConcile, Jan. What interests you most about this sector? What really made you want to work and start a company in it?
Yeah. So the financial industry is a spreadsheet business. Excel is everywhere.
Right.
And there's a funny website, you should look it up, about the accidents that has happened in the financial industry by stupid Excel mistakes. I mean, JP Morgan lost, I think, $4 billion by the famous London whale accident. Why somebody made in a spreadsheet a very small mistake, divided by the sum instead of dividing by the average. And that creates a catastrophe. So if you're well equipped and you know to program, you know databases, and you know your math, you can add so much value to your customers. And that's what we did. We developed financial software exactly that does that. Yeah? So Excel is the biggest friend because it creates so many problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So Excel made you want to be in this sector.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excel lover. I have personal experience in the tech industry, not so much financial tech, but tech. It's a very competitive market. What is unique about your business specifically, and how did you define this? What do you find is your competitive edge against other competitors?
Yeah, I think for the students, what our edge was that it's very important not to stand on one leg. So if you're an engineer, get an MBA. If you're an economist, study data science. If you're a lawyer, study economy, right? So at RiskConcile, our team, we can go to a bank and we have traders that work for us. We have also risk managers. We have developers, programmers. So we speak the language.
Right.
Our competitors are software firms. They only have programmers. So our advantage is that we understand the language and we know exactly what it's all about because we have managed money. We know what it is to lose money to make money and where the risk is. So that's a big difference.
Okay, so it's the team that's very much the key thing. And how have you recruited that team and how do you maintain that team?
I spend so much time in, we're now 14 people. We're adding number 15 pretty soon. From 14 to 15, the one guy extra is not the same as going from 200 to 201, because it's so I spend so much time interviewing people to have, first of all for me, it's the cultural fit. Does this person fit in our company? And all the rest we can learn. If you're not a great Python expert, no problem, we teach you that. You know anything about derivatives? There are courses we'll send you. We send you to London, we send you to Munich for a seminar, but cultural fit is for us very important to have the right.
Yeah, and how do you test that? Because I found it so difficult in a few interviews.
That's the only thing I've picked up from the army. I've been here for 11 years. I know exactly when I see somebody talks to me who that person is.
Really?
I have a nose for that.
Yeah, that's, from the army.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, so all HR people would benefit from
doesn't take me
some
too long.
army experience.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Actually, a question I posted on LinkedIn a few days ago that we were going to do this, and I asked, does anybody have any questions? So here's one that I received. When did you decide you'd achieved a good product marketing fit? And are there any certain metrics or KPIs that you use to assess this?
We doubled our revenue every single year.
Right.
So that means we do something great, correct, which is profit is the most important KPI, not growth. I think in times like now where cash is very expensive, growth is not that important. 2 years ago, cash was for free. Then growth was extremely important. So for us, that KPI, that fact that we are profitable, that I can pay my salaries, that I have a stable company, is for me, in fact, okay, we can continue that path, we're good to go.
Nice, good. Jente, going over to LVN now a little bit more specifically. For me personally, after being a year at LVN, I know a little bit better. And we've had various entrepreneurs on Startup Stories already, but you're the first founder of a non-profit and may I add, one entirely run by volunteers and interns, all unpaid. None of us are paid to be a part of LVN. It's quite unique. I can imagine founding this type of company has completely different challenges to a profit company. Can you explain what you think that they were?
Yeah, sure. So maybe first of all, the interesting part I discovered, I work at EIT Foods, and there the European Union is paying consultants a lot of money to do marketing strategy or to create visuals or stuff like that. Turns out there's a lot of similarity with managing volunteers and interns who don't get paid and actually very high paid consultants. Because in the end, we're all humans. So what I learned is that recognition is super important in both areas. More in the volunteers and the interns, but recognition is a huge thing. If you ever lead a team, recognize good work. It's not just recognize to recognize, but recognize good work. So just to start with, that's the similarity. But I do want to emphasize that recognition is more important in a volunteer organization. Also purpose. Not just doing it for the paycheck, but really doing it for LVN wants to bring people together for the better. We want to bring startups and innovation together in cool events. If people resonate with that inclusivity, with innovation, then automatically they're more motivated. So that's maybe also more purpose in volunteer organizations, you could say. But purpose, again, is super important in companies.
Yeah.
But so the funny thing is, it's very similar, more similar than you think.
Right. I mean, Jan, it's maybe interesting for you also on purpose. Is that something important that you find at RiskConcile?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with what you said.
Yeah. Have you defined that at RiskConcile?
Well, as a small company, we're very quickly on the ball to correct it where needed. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jente, again, as I say, there's a very specific culture at LVN. How did you develop it and how do you maintain it?
Yeah, I think, and I learned it from my previous boss, who was also in the military, it is super important to have open communication, to not bottle it up. How are you doing? I'm fine. You don't want that culture, because that culture is toxic, because it's exposed into a burnout or whatever. So what is really important is to be open about feelings. On a bad day, we should be able to say you have a bad day. You should be able, my girlfriend broke up with me, or I'm sick, or I have too much work. You should be able to say that. And at LVN, I had a system that my boss, who was in the military, used, and it's a matrix. And every Wednesday morning, we say how are our happiness levels and how are our energy levels. And we place our profile picture, drag and drop, on the matrix. And then we talk about it, open. And we encourage, when somebody is having a bad day, we encourage and we say, thank you for the honesty. Can we help somewhere? Can we take some work off you? Do you want to take a day off? And I think that kind of culture is very important, and you can ingrain it in your meetings. And you can also ingrain it in your talks with the boss. You know, like if it goes bad, the boss should not say like, come on, get your stuff together, but be like, okay, you know, take it easy. It's all right. Can I help somewhere? So meetings, talking, but also the structure of your meetings could be a way to promote it more.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you already gave us a little sneak preview. Is there now a time that you want to talk a little bit more about other projects that you're working on? Yeah,
thanks for the spotlight. So I said I'm very passionate about people working together and meetings and open culture. So I found it that maybe there is a need for a tech startup, which I'm working on right now. The MVP is ready next week. The MVP, minimum viable products, like really the prototype, but ready to commercialize. And that would be optimizing meetings. And one of the things what I just said was the well-being matrix is integrated in the app, but also action points, decision points, multiple choice, voting democratically, anonymously, just to promote that inclusivity. So that would be the next entrepreneurial adventure or startup story coming. I will still be connected to Jong Voka and LVN because we're all trying to bring people together. Yeah. And Co-op does the same, but digitally on meetings.
Super, nice, very interesting. Another question that I got through on LinkedIn beforehand, somebody asked, in your opinion, what conditions do founders or young founders need to enable them and to encourage them to go into that route of entrepreneurship? Is that something in society, in the city, in the working world, financially? Support with childcare, you know, what would help them dare to found their own businesses, in your opinion?
Thank you. No, I think that when I worked at the hedge funds and I looked at the traders that took the most risk, they were the ones which were having, let's say, not the top university degrees. Because I think the more you quantify, the more you study, then the less risk you want to take because you're going to calculate everything. Yeah? So that can be sometimes a problem. So here in Leuven, what has helped me, what has helped a lot is the fact, okay, in Europe, when we talk about finance, we talk about, not about Belgium, we talk about London, we talk about Frankfurt, Dublin, Luxembourg. So, and here we had the support, fantastic support by the government. We have Flanders Investment Rate, you have LIO. These organizations help you. So even if, I'm sure in India there are also plenty of organizations to help young startups. So even if you don't dare to take the risk, they will help you. And if you put down $1, they also would put down $1 to help you out. So that's very important. So this local support, this community, is without them, RiskConcile would not be the success it was today. Definitely.
Right. Jente, what do you think?
Yeah, totally what Jan says. And you, in that whole story, you need role models. You know, people that did it before you. For me, for example, when I started organizing events, because I looked up at a guy in my city who was organizing successful events, and I was like, I want to be that guy, and it's possible. You know, like he can do it, so I can do it. And I think you need more role models. And the more role models, the more courage you have that you can do it yourself. And also an environment where risk-taking is totally fine. You know, like high risk, high gain. You know, just try it. Maybe it fails, but maybe it works out. It becomes your new passion, your new job. And if it fails, worst case scenario, you had an amazing learning journey, and that should be encouraged more and maybe supported also to take risk by, you know, co-funding or things like that. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is maybe already from a young age learning failure is okay.
Absolutely.
And that environment, surrounding yourself by people that, you know, inspire you, that raise you to a next level. Mm-hmm. And Jan, you were saying like the institutions to help financially.
Yeah.
Those, if we sum that up. Okay. Other advice pieces that you might have, Jente, what advice would you give to people who are having problems in building their own startup, or to those that have an idea but they don't know really where to start, like with the very, very first steps?
Talk to your friends, family, and fools, and whoever you can. Because it's often, I have an amazing idea and somebody's going to steal it. Yeah, but it's very unlikely they will have the time and the passion like you have to actually do it. So it's better to talk and get opinions from your good friends, from the people who care about you. And then the next step, which is related to that, is user testing. You know, just do a proof of concept for 5 people or for 1 person, if that's possible. So it starts with friends, family, and fools often, where you just talk during the dinner or during a beer on the bar. And if they resonate with it, and you're like, okay, that's maybe I can take the next step. They won't steal your idea. Trust me, if it's just something in your head, they won't steal it. If you start having a concrete product with IP, be careful. But at the very first steps, just talk to the people that love you and do a few tests. Mm-hmm. That would be my tip. Yeah.
I find it good to get feedback as well. And then once you actually start verbalizing it, starts becoming real. As long as it's in your head, then it'll just stay there and nothing, concrete actions will start from
Exactly, it stays in your head. You need to get it in the world.
Yes. Jan, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently starting out?
I would have started earlier. We still have done the army, but we have started earlier. And so what's very important, to come back to what you said, X, for us, is if you build something, you have to build a must-have, not a nice-to-have. I would have loved to build software to price derivatives, portfolio management, portfolio optimization. What I love. Lots of mathematics, lots of graph, fun to do. That's a nice-to-have.
Yeah.
But what we now have is we have products which are must-have, which our clients need because it's the law. And thanks to that, actually, every year it's scalable because it's a subscription. So I know already right now, 1st of January 2023, what I will make. I can help making my budget, I know what I can spend, and it's very helpful. So always do something what the must-have, not the nice-to-haves. Yeah? Even the nice-to-have is nice, but you have to that people need by law, and that's the RegTech business. Yeah? So it's
Yeah, lovely. Jente, you're carrying a lot of different responsibilities. LVN, EIT Food, Jong Voka we mentioned, and now Collab. Do you have any concrete tips to organize it all and keep the balance?
I think a lot of the work we do feels busy. You know, you can work 8 hours or you can stay in office until 8 p.m., 10 p.m. to make your boss proud. But often you can spend your time in much more impactful ways. So it's a little bit, I don't know if the audience heard the 80-20 rule, but basically 20% of your time that you invest in work can impact 80% of the impact you want to make. So it's good to really look at your working day and be like, I can perfectionize this PowerPoint slide for 3 hours, and yes, I have worked a half day, but will I really make an impact? Or you can say, you know what, this person is really near to burnout. Let me do a 5-minute phone call and avoid the burnout. So your time, the way you spend your time is crucial if you want to manage multiple projects or big teams or whatever you call it. Spend your time and reflect constantly about your time spent.
Yeah, that's good advice. Jan, are there any common characteristics that you see in yourself and in other entrepreneurs that might be a key to success or something you just generally...
There's a drawback. Sometimes I'm too fast. Yeah? I don't think enough. But
join the club.
Yeah, thanks to this, because if you think too long, the opportunity is gone. So, but sometimes that you listen, Jan, you should have think twice, whatever. But okay, this is what it is. You can't change the animals, so that's
indeed. If you fail, you learn.
Whatever.
And otherwise, you've jumped on the success. All right, lovely. I would like to turn to give time for a Q&A. Are there any questions from our audience, first of all? Yes.
Should they seek out like a mentor? Should they look for like a co-founder? Or should they be looking for like an incubation center?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we decided to grow organically. We decided not to have private equity funds invest in our company because it keeps my independence. So we do what we want. Because if you accept outside money, it would have helped my growth. But they invest in you because they want to make some money. And you have then reporting requirements that will slow you down, will push your company in a certain direction you don't want. So we decided very quickly to do organically. How did that go? Well, we were a consultancy firm in the beginning, the first half year. So you have some money in the bank. With that money in the bank, you have a developer, make some more money. It goes slow, I know. But right now, it has kept us actually as a stable company, a big company, without any outside capital. So that's a big thing. You have to decide. I mean, you can go for private capital. You can reach outside for incubators, but that's a decision you have to make. And I wanted to be my own boss, so we want to grow organically. Yeah.
And you, Jente, maybe for
if I may add to
future?
that. A co-founder is a very good idea. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's really good to have a partner in crime when shit hits the fan, we say. That you have a sparring partner who is in the same boat as you. So if you have a co-founder in mind and that co-founder is as passionate as you are, then do it. It's not a unique element for success, but for example, IMEC, I heard you visited IMEC, the people in the room. They have an accelerator, IMEC iStart. You cannot join the accelerator unless you have a co-founder. Because they see in the data that a co-founder, where there's at least 2 co-founders, the success is much higher of the startup. Sometimes just one founder who is a success story. But most of the times it is with the co-founder at the early stage that raises your success. So I recommend it. If you have a good one, go for it.
Thank you. Another question? Yes, in the far back.
It's not an easy one. Maybe Jan first, how you differentiate yourself in the digital market. I can start, but I know he has a fintech startup.
Yeah, so I'm old school, but my co-founder, we have a co-founder, and my co-founder is a person who hired me from the army in the bank. So now it happened the other way around. So we have a business developer who joined us 2 years ago, young guy, like you, very passionate, straight from business school. And he talked about digital marketing, and I said, "Oh, well, okay." And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah? Given the fact we have the lockdown that happened here, yeah, we live in Leuven. It's happening in London, in Dublin, whatever else. This digital marketing exercise has really been so instrumental. It's so important. Yeah. It has made RiskConcile what it is, thanks to this new person joining our desk and being convinced it was the thing to do. Yeah. I'm old-fashioned. I was writing newsletters, white papers, but it's not the correct approach. It was what he did was much better.
Jan, did you have something to add?
Well, I think there was also a piece in the question about differentiating in the very crowded digital market. Google, Slack, Salesforce, Microsoft. Like how do you enter that market? Because with Collab, for example, we're kind of competing with that. The thing is to be very, very good in their niche, because these big companies, they try to do everything, you know, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Viva Insights, it's a new thing from Microsoft. They have a lot of things, but if you want to start something in the tech industry, in the IT industry, focus a little bit on, like Jan said, on the must-have and just perfectionize that even better than the big tanker ships. You know, get like a speedboat that competes against the tanker ship in terms of innovation and taking the latest tech and the latest culture that is going around in the time that you're in. I think there you can have a competitive edge if you focus on your niche and do it very, very well.
Super, thank you. Another question? Yes?
One, what is the right time to share their idea with others?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, is it wise to go in for an investor? And if yes, then at what stage?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the first question was, if you have an idea, what is the right time to share it?
Well, I kind of mentioned it, family, friends and fools, share it away. You know, go for it. But be careful indeed about, you know, investors and competition that you don't share to everybody, but people you trust as early as you can. If the idea is in your head, try to do it. In my opinion, I think for investors, it depends on your product a little bit. And also an investor is not only about money. In my opinion, I think an investor is like a relationship. And the money is one of the things, but also the network, the vibe, the ideas. They're maybe even much more worthwhile than the 100,000 euros you get for 10% equity. It's nice, it's good. But there's so much more that an investor can give you. For example, network.
Expertise or people that they're working for them and you're not finding the right capabilities.
Exactly. And to answer your question even more concretely, you know, it's like a relationship. When is the perfect time to have a relationship? Hard to judge depending on the relationship you're looking for. But on the other hand, I would also not wait too long with it, because at some point you need the capital and the network and the tips and the expertise from the investors. But I'm very curious to hear Jan, his opinion.
So it depends for me on the barriers to entry. If you have a complex product, I think you can share, because you know how to do it, and the person you're talking to has no idea. It's a bit like everybody can draw a house, but building one's a different story. So for a complex instrument, I have no problem having an idea to talk about it. Because they're sophisticated mathematical instruments, so I feel very comfortable there. So I like to share. Yeah.
Any other questions here live in the audience? Yes?
So in India, one common thing that we have seen across most of the startups is their high cash burn ratio in the initial stage. So what is the accurate or amount of time that one should decide before getting aggressive?
Difficult question. Also because we're talking about services mostly.
When to get aggressive, you say, like once you're lifting up?
Yeah.
When to say, okay, price is higher, let's go all in. You know, that when is that moment you're it is normal to do cash burn. If you look at the graphs, like here's your profit. Often, not always, but often when you start a startup, you cash burn. And then you start getting a little bit revenue, but not enough to make profit. And then you start making profits. And it's okay. It's okay to cash burn in the beginning or find investors. It's almost a common practice in the tech industry. When is the moment to get aggressive? When the competition starts copy-pasting you. Yeah. That could be one of the moments when you see like, okay, they're trying to mimic me. Then it's time to put the innovation engine and the customer growth engine maybe quicker. But that's just one moment. I don't know, Jan, if there's more moments where like now it's time to go double down, all in.
I don't like to burn cash. But what's very different when you're a startup and you begin, when you talk about money, what for me was the most difficult thing is, I have this product, what do I ask now? What is my price? Because shall I count all the hours I put in that and do times this many euros? If I'm too cheap, I will lose money. If I have too expensive, I have no business. That thing is extremely difficult. So now after 7 years, we know exactly how to do that because you know your competitors, but pricing your products is so difficult. It's extremely difficult. But if you network and you travel and you go around and you talk to people, you have a good idea about what you can ask. But for me, that was the most difficult thing is saying, this is the software, what shall I ask now per year to use this product? It's so difficult. There's no course that's teaching you that. Doesn't exist. Derivatives, whatever you want, marketing, but getting a price for your product is so difficult. Yeah, so difficult.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions here in the live audience? In the back. So at what point should you really find some professional advice or help or, yeah.
When to go pro? That is the question. Yeah,
true. Can I maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
I was going to save you now. So for us, it was easy because my co-founder is a private equity guy. So that's an expertise which has helped me. So for the moment, I don't have the need to bring experts in, but I would not hesitate tomorrow if I have, let's say, an HR problem to waste time and doing it myself than to find an expert here in the city of Leuven to help me out. So it's never, definitely, if you need professional advice, you get these people on board immediately because you can't do everything yourself. If I make mistakes, it's because I try to do too many things myself. But luckily, my co-founder is good in finance, is good in marketing, and I'm very bad at all these things. So that's a good marriage, I would say.
I think you'd also be surprised at how prepared people are to give advice for free. It's not always on a payment expectation, especially if it's somebody that you know via or something and it's just a one-time off advice.
Yeah. In Belgium, for example, you have FinTech Belgium. It's an organization. I think India must also have these organizations. So they give free webinars, free seminars. You get advice for free, and I always show up. I'm a happy member.
Where it's coming from is because in India it's a typical tradition. You are an owner, you have a business, you have a very strong ecosystem, and then you have an idea. So you necessarily will not have professional expertise, but you would like to persuade that idea because you see the market. So I think, and that's where he's coming from because their ecosystem and they want to use professionals then to take that leap at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then indeed, if you're missing expertise, I would get that in as fast as you can indeed to sway the boat.
But I like that tradition a lot where you build that ecosystem around you, I think that's a very good strategy. Because a little bit like Jan says, you know, like the people, you can't do everything yourself. So building that ecosystem is a very wise move. But of course, at some point, and I think it's also part of your question, like when do you know, professionalize and get expertise? You need money often for that. So I'm very lucky with my ecosystem, for example. I have one of my best friends who is a graphic designer, but really top notch. And he made my logo, and that is, I can't do such a nice logo like he does. So that's a little bit the go pro moment. But for example, with Leuven Value Network, we decided at some point to go pro with an after movie. We did the after movies ourselves with the iPhone, and we made a video. But at some point we said, okay, look, it's gonna be €1,000, which is a lot of money for a non-profit. But if we wanna go to the higher level, let's pay the money. But we didn't do it from the first time. I would say try to reduce costs at the beginning as much as possible. But then if you feel like, okay, this after movie, this website, this coding exercise, this marketing campaign is so important because I tried it 3 times with my friends and myself, then I think it's time to put in some money. When you know if I put money there, it will create a big impact and you can feel it after trying it a few times, I think that's a good indication. You can't keep relying on your friend ecosystem or school colleagues ecosystem. At some point, you got to pay on the impactful things to press, you know. So I hope that helped a bit.
Any other questions here in the live audience? Yes, here in the front.
Good evening, sir. So, in one of the interviews by Jeff Bezos, it was he told that when Amazon was launched, he was lucky that it was launched at the right time. So, how do we know that this is the right time to start a startup?
It's always the right time, but you need to have the must-have. So we're in the RegTech business. So if a new regulation comes out, I know that the clients are going to need something there. So there's always a right time for everything. Yeah? Things like portfolio optimization is not the right time right now because people are suffering, banks are losing money. It's a nice to have, but there's always a right time for a must-have product. Always. I mean, even if interest rates are high and borrowing might be difficult, there's always, don't wait. Maybe I waited too long, but don't wait. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I resonate, and I want to. No. It's good advice because I want to add on to that. It's always a good time, like Jan says, and in fact, even if it's crisis, there's this never wasted. You know, sometimes in you know energy prices are soaring. Maybe now is the time to start an energy startup. You know, it's maybe contradictory. But sometimes a situation with a lot of pressure requires solutions. So even in times of crisis, it's a smart idea to start a startup, maybe even a better idea if you find a solution tackling the problem in the current climate. So always, even during the worst times, and maybe the worst times are not a bad time to start a startup.
You learn hard lessons that only make it easier when it gets better.
Exactly.
If you can function in hard times, then you can definitely function when it gets better.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody that joined live and online. Thank you to the City of Leuven for hosting in this beautiful location. Catch us again next month for another episode of Startup Stories on November 17th. Thank you and have a great day further.